Everybody, Dave here. In this video, I'm gonna go over my 2020 goals. It looks like everybody else is doing some 2020 goals for financial and personal. So I've had goals in the past. I've always done, 1 year, 5 year, and 10-year goals and kind of where I wanted to go long term. But the last, I'd say 3 to 4 years or so, I really haven't done any new goals. I kind of just kept the old ones from the past. But some things have kind of changed recently, so let's go ahead and talk about that. So let's go and get started. So here it is, almost 2020, and 2019 is just a blink. It's kind of in the rearview mirror at this point. I pretty much met all my goals for 2019, so I did come up with some new ones. Some of the other people in this community kind of challenged me a little bit to come up with some new ones. So let's go ahead and go through my goals for 2020. So number one, I am starting 2 new dividend portfolios. One's going to be in a taxable account. One is going to be in a tax deferred account. Now I've already started the one in the tax deferred account. There's $26,000 across 17 positions currently, and there's about $7,000 in that account as I've recorded this video that still need to go into some new positions. Now my ultimate goal with this account is to build it out to $200,000, okay? And that will happen over the next few years. Right now, it's only making about $1,000 in dividends per year. I have goals to increase that up to roughly about $2,000 this year, hopefully. So ultimately, I would like to see about 30 to 35 positions in this particular account. So the second one is the taxable account, and that one, there's roughly about $16,000 to $17,000 in that account. Now I just opened this account last week. There's 0 positions in this account. And what the goal is with this account is to build it up to $50,000 this year. So I'm also going to get into the exact same positions that are in my tax deferred account. So those 30 to 35 positions will likely be in this account, maybe with the exception of O or any REITs. Which I'll keep in the tax deferred account for tax purposes. And the third stock portfolio account is my M1 Finance account, which currently has $12,000 invested across a bunch of Vanguard ETFs. So if you've seen some of my older videos, I have talked about my Vanguard ETFs. I am going to build that account up this year, hopefully to about 15 to 20,000. There's 12 in there right now with another 1,000 that's not invested. I pretty much deploy money in this account every week, sometimes twice a week, depending on what the market's doing. But I always have money just sitting in this account ready to be invested. So right now there's $1,000 in there, and hopefully to get in that the next pullback or so. But as the market continues on, I still try to invest $50 to to $100 a week anyway. This is the same goal I had last year. I do max out my 401k. So last year I maxed it out, and this year at 19,000 I maxed it out, and for 2020 it has gone up for a single person up to 19,500. So typically what I do is I put in 10% across the whole year, and then when you get to the Social Security limit of 135 to 140,000, I'm not sure what it is these days, but the Social Security stops coming out, and then I usually up the amount up to 16 to anywhere up to 18% till I max it out up to the 19,000. For 2020, it will be 19,500. So I maxed that out, and I mostly max that out for tax purposes. In addition to my 401k, I'm also maxing out my HSA at this year it was 3,500. Next year 2020 will be 3,550. Now my work actually provides part of that, so I think they provide like 750 or something like that. So I will be providing the rest until I max that out at 35.5. Now I keep $1,000 in the HSA. The rest of it goes into Vanguard ETFs and all that. It gets invested. So hopefully one day, what I would like to see with this account is I could pay for deductible or something like that just off of dividends. That would be ideal. So this is relatively new to me. I've only had it a few years. All the other employers I've had never offered an HSA. So if you have an HSA option at your work, I really suggest that you get in that ASAP, because you can basically take this anywhere you go. It's yours. The money that you put in there, you can take anywhere and have it for life. So if you can get, $50,000 to $100,000 in there by the time you retire, that is huge. Imagine the amount of money that you can generate off of that, just off of dividends alone. You could pay for your deductible or any co-pays for that whole year. So I suggest that anybody get into a HSA if your work provides one. So another goal, and this is kind of the same goal I had for 2019. So for 2020, I do have a trading account that I tried to make at least $5,000 off of. This year, I've come up close to making about $7,000 off of the trading account. So I am going to draw that count down a little bit. I don't need as much money in there as I have in there to generate that. So I'm going to probably draw that count down a little bit. But the goal is to make that $5,000 in that account again in 2020. So it's kind of a fun playing account, and I have a lot of other investments that generate money, a steady income plus my work, W-2 job that generates money. So I don't really have to rely on this, but it's just a personal goal to generate that $5,000. So that'll go forward for 2020 as well. And for 2019, I had a goal of saving 65% of my take-home pay. I think I actually come in at around 68% or so. So I kind of, had a bigger bonus than I expected by quite a bit. So, I don't know if that's going to happen in 2020 at all, but my goal still is to save 65% of my take-home pay. So, hopefully I get another big bonus, a little larger than usual. So we'll see what happens, but I'm still on track, even if I don't get the bigger bonus, to still save that 65% of take-home pay. A new goal for 2020 is to increase my Fundrise account up to 16,000. So there's about 15,200 in there right now. So I am reinvesting all my dividends. The dividends hopefully will get me up to the 16,000. If I'm not at the 16,000, I'll just go ahead and add the last amount in there to get it up to the 16,000. So, but I do expect it to probably, maybe even go past that 16 or surpass that 16. So we'll see. Another goal for 2020 is to get my lending club account up to 2,500. Now there's about 2,000. I think 100 in there right now. It is basically self-fulfilling at this point. Every month, 2 new loans get added by reinvesting the interest and the principal. So I'm hoping that by the time it gets up to 2,500, it should get up to 3 loans that gets added every single month. And it's kind of just filling on itself right now. I haven't done an update video on that quite a while, but there is about 2,100 in that account. I'm hoping by the end of 2020, we're at 2,500. If we're not there, I'll go ahead and add the last amount in to get it up to the 2,500. Another goal for 2020 is to continue on with my retirement planning. So if you're not aware, I am planning to fire hopefully within 18 months or so. It could go maybe another 12 past that. I'm not really sure. A lot's going to depend on the customer. I've talked about this in other videos, but 18 months is about what I'm looking at. Maybe 16, 18 months is what I'm looking at. Hopefully everything goes as well. But I'm already 2 years into my retirement planning as it is. I got rid of a house in 2018. I got rid of another house in 2019. It's going to have a huge tax bill this tax season. I owe another $40,000 basically in taxes. I've already paid another 20 just a few months ago in quarterly taxes. Not to mention all the stuff that comes out of my W-2, tax withholding. I claim 0 for both state and for federal because I don't want to make, I don't want to owe at the end of the year, which I always owe anyway. But so this year I'm hoping that I'm coming close to estimating that out, and we'll see how that goes. But hopefully after 2020 tax season, which is for 2019, the taxes should be reduced quite a bit. And I still have that note income, which generates me about $30-something thousand in taxable income and interest. So hopefully as that draws down, the taxable income will come down, and I'm going to do a video on reducing my taxes down to 0 eventually. So that'll be kind of a fun practice, and to go through that. Is it possible to have a higher net worth and to pay 0 in taxes? I believe it is. So we'll go over that in a later video. So those are my investing goals for 2020. Now let's go ahead and move on to my personal goals. Now I just kind of throwing these in there because these are a struggle and have been a struggle a little bit. So for 2020, I'm continuing to work on my mental health. It's been a struggle over the last, you know, I don't know, a few years, gotten worse lately. So, you know, this time of the year is a little harder for me than usual. You know, some life events and all that stuff happened, and you know, it kind of just reminds me of that. So that is a big thing that I'm going to focus on, just to remain healthy mentally and physically. You know, I got down to 185 pounds, and you know, from a 205 just earlier this year. So and in addition to 2020, for my mental health and for physical health, I do plan on climbing 4 14ers in 2020. Now in 2019, this year, I actually climbed 2 14ers. Now I had taken 10 years off from climbing 14ers. I climbed 6 14ers in 2009 and then moved out of the state and, you know, went overseas and worked and all that. And when I got back, I was traveling all the time. And, you know, if you're traveling all the time and you're not in the state and you're down at sea level and you come back, you know, into the state and you're back at, you know, Mile High in Denver, right? It is very hard to climb a 14er. You kind of need to acclimate for a while. So my goal is, because I don't travel as much as I had been in the past several years, that I do plan on climbing 4 14ers. If you're not familiar with a 14er is, there's about 58 of them in Colorado, and it's a 14,000 foot mountain. So you're typically starting at about 10,000 to about 11,000 feet. You know, the tree line ends about 11,500 or so. So anything above 11,500, you're pretty much, you know, above trees and, you know, vegetation. So that is my goal. I don't know which ones I'm going to do for 2020. I will make that decision up, you know, next year as the time comes. And, you know, I don't know if anybody's familiar, if anybody is, you know, has ever climbed a 14er, but it's super hard, especially when you get up to, you know, my 40s like I am now. It's not as easy as it was 10 years ago when I was in my mid 30s, but that is my goal. I did 2 this year, and, you know, ultimately it was still hard. I complained the whole way and bitched and complained and, you know, cussed and all that, but, you know, I survived and here I am. So, and I feel, you know, much better that I completed that. So it's a mental thing more than anything than it is physical. So that is my goals for 2020. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them below. I do appreciate everybody that subscribed to me this year. It's been a great year so far, and I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and, you know, New Year's going forward. New Year's is just a couple days away, so we'll go ahead and see you down in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.